I'm always looking for advice from you, the people watching these videos. And previously I had asked what you guys thought were the best value divers under $500. And one of the ones that came up over and over and over again was the Richard LeGrand Odyssea or Oceanfarer collection. And so that definitely got on my radar, something I wanted to check out if I ever had the opportunity. And a couple weeks ago I got an offer from Alton over there, and he offered to send one in for review. I took him up, and you guys were right. This is a pretty amazing watch. Let's take a look at it. Hey guys, this is Dave. Welcome back to Just the Watch, the budget watch collecting channel where I like to talk about everything related to watch collecting on a budget. And as mentioned, we're going to be taking a look at the Richard LeGrand Oceanfarer, which is, I guess it could be kind of qualified as the Odyssey Mark IV, but anyways, we'll get into that in a minute. You probably noticed the includes paid promotion flag at the beginning of this video. That is because Richard LeGrand did give me this watch to review for free. I don't have to send it back after it's done. However, as always, I will be giving you my complete and honest review of the product. So to sum up what I think they've put together here, I think this is one of the best qualifications for like a one watch collection that you can imagine. It falls under the category of what I would call a dress diver. So it's a watch that has all of the functions and capabilities of a good dive watch, and yet it has a little bit more elegance and class to it rather than taking on a really functional tool watch kind of look. And there's a lot of watches in this category, but what I think is so great about them is it allows them to really seamlessly transition into a lot of different kinds of situations. This is a watch I think most guys could totally get away with wearing it with a suit, no problem. And if you need to actually go diving, it's 200 meters of water resistance, screw down crown, sapphire crystal, and decent lume would all get the job done, no problem. This particular design is one that Richard LeGrand has been working on and perfecting for a while now. Again, I think this is the fourth iteration of what was their original dive watch offering. So I think the original one was called the Odyssey. They went through 3 versions of that and then rebranded it the Oceanfarer, but the design is still very similar, but they have continually upgraded it. Some of the newer features on this one is that they've included female end link, which allows the bracelet to more comfortably conform to smaller wrists. And the watch comes in at just a wonderful 40 millimeter size. I'm really starting to fall in love with this 40 millimeter size for dive watches. Again, I think that really helps the versatility and allows you to wear it in slightly more formal situations or even business situations, but then also be able to use it, at the beach and, out and about. They're selling this one for $390. This one's featuring a Miyota 9039 movement, which is the no-date version of the Miyota 9015. This iteration does not have a date. You can get the watch on their website for $390. However, right now for Black Friday, I believe they're running sales that should be good until at least Friday or whenever they sell out. And they're giving you anywhere from $60 to $40 off depending on the colorway that's there. So if you're interested, this is a great time to jump on it. Anyways, with that said, let's go ahead and jump in and take a closer look at the watch, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so here's the Richard LeGrand Oceanfarer with kind of the full kit of what you can expect to come in the package. We'll talk about that in just a second, but let's get the dimensions and specifications out of the way. So this is a 40 millimeter diameter diver. So it's kind of on the compact side. Continues with the lug-to-lug distance of only 46 millimeters, 20 millimeter lug openings, and you're getting a height, including a domed sapphire crystal, of right around 13 millimeters or just under that. So this is a very wearable piece. Adding to that is that the bracelet does feature female end links, so it allows the bracelet to wear flat to the back of the case and conform to your wrist very well, so you're not going to get any extra protrusion beyond that 46 millimeters. As mentioned, you are getting a sapphire crystal. You're also getting 200 meters of water resistance, a signed screw-down crown, BGW9 lume on the hands, markers, and bezel. It is a fully lume bezel. I believe this is a sapphire insert on the bezel also. Inside you're getting a Miyota 9039 movement, which I believe is the no-date version of the Miyota 9015. So this is a high beat rate movement. It beats at 28,800 beats per hour or 8 ticks per second. So you get a very nice smooth sweep of the second hand. So this movement is Miyota's high-end movement meant to compete with Swift's movements like the Sellita SW200 or the ETA 2825. It's a very slim movement, and that allows them to get the case size down to this just under 13 millimeters, including the dome sapphire crystal. And it also tends to be a very accurate movement as well. Now, the only downside that this movement has is that it can be a little bit noisy on the wrist. It has a rotor that tends to spin, and sometimes you can feel that, but in a dive watch like this, it's something I didn't really notice at all. All in all, the Miyota 9015 is one of my favorite movements, this being the no-date version of that, the 9039. Also just, I think, a great movement in this price range. Let's talk about the other things that they give you in the box. So the bracelet on this features a pin and collar system, which can occasionally be difficult to size. A lot of times those little screw push things that push the pins out don't quite have enough force, so they have actually included a hammer, which is actually what I normally use to size all my bracelets. I have one of these little hammer kits, and you use this in combination with one of these little guys, and then you use this to just pound the pins out, and that'll give you enough force to knock the pin and the collar out so that you can size the bracelet. So nice that they thought of that. You're also getting this kind of like a fake leather watch roll, which holds two watches, or in this case it holds the watch and an extra strap. They're giving you a very nice rubber, tropic rubber strap, which I think fits the character and look of the watch very well. Should you like to swap it out from the bracelet over to a rubber strap, it's a really cool extra that they've given you there. Another thing that they've included that I don't think is strictly necessary, but it was a nice thought, is that they've given you a pair of curved spring bars. Now, I was able to fit a lot of straps on without using this. It is a tight fit. You know, the lugs are fairly tight against the case, so there's not a lot of clearance. So, you know, for something like a Seatbelt NATO or maybe a thicker rubber strap, it might be good to use these curved spring bars. But for most of the straps that I tried on, I didn't need them. I tried on straps that have quick release and was able to get most of them on. So yeah, it's nice that they give you that as an option. You may or may not need them. Finally, they are also giving you a 2-year international warranty. That's really nice to see as well. But going back to the watch, this one you can see is the blue colorway, and it's just a really beautiful blue dial. Very deep blue, the kind of thing that depending on certain lightings, it might almost go all the way to black, but usually not quite. And then when it catches the light, you're going to get some real flashes of color. Really beautiful dial there. And the BGW9 Lume, the white paint, really reflects well off of that, so it's very easy to see. Highly legible. And I really like this 12, 3, 6, and 9 layout that they put. This is something that you don't see a lot of times on divers. And I think it's just a really cool balance. For me, it helps me to read the watch a little bit faster. And I think it does look a little bit dressier like this. And as mentioned in the intro, I would consider this a dress diver, which to me is, you know, one of the most versatile watches out there. This is the kind of thing that's just such a beautiful diver with such a really beautiful case and finishing that you could wear it in slightly more dressy situations, and yet it still has everything that you would need to go, you know, diving or swimming out in the ocean and be able to handle that as well. The bezel is 120 click unidirectional, and it has very good action. It's somewhat light. It doesn't require a lot of force, but I think it's like just perfect. It's just the right amount so that you can easily get a good grip on it, even if your hands are a little bit slippery, and be able to turn it and use it. But it's not, you know, it's not so light that just knocking it will move it at all. So I think they got the bezel action dialed in really well on this one. It's also very well aligned, pretty much right on the center there. The case finishing is also excellent. You're getting some nice horizontal brushing on the sides of the case, which transitions into this sort of polished chamfered edge on the side of the lugs there. And then on the top of the lugs, you've got more of like a radial brushing there. Just really smooth, really fine, nice brushwork. And great to see those different polished edges. And you can see as I'm hitting that angle, that domed sapphire crystal really does look beautiful. It gives you such a clean, clear view of the dial. And just some really nice little reflections at those extreme angles. Kind of really reminds me of like the porthole on a ship looking in. I don't know, with this blue in particular, looking at it from these angles, it really feels kind of like looking down at the ocean with these little islands that are the markers down there reflecting off of it. So just a really beautiful dial as well. The bracelet is really outstanding. It's kind of one of the, I think, key visual features of this watch. They've gone with this flat link bracelet, which is fully brushed, and this is a really unique bracelet choice. You don't see this one done very often, and it has a really, I think, stunning look to it. It really catches the light in an interesting way. So even though these are fully brushed, depending on the angles that it's going to hit, you're going to get different reflections. So it really kind of actually has a lot of light play on it, especially when it's on the wrist. It also articulates very well. It's very comfortable. And again, those female end links, very much appreciated also. So I think they've really thought this through. Again, I think this is the 4th iteration of this. So they've gone through a lot of refinements to get it to this point, and that really shows off in the design at this level. The clasp is also excellent. It's a nice solid clasp. You get a little flip up there, and then dual push button deployance, fully milled clasp, and it also has 6 micro adjusts, which I love to see that. It allows you to get a really perfect fit, I think, with the bracelet. These links are also smaller than most other ones, so that also gives you an extra level of customizability. So what I like being able to do is to size it to my wrist and have it kind of somewhere in the middle, so it'll give me some micro adjusts either in or out if I need to adjust it later without having to add or remove links, and this clasp definitely allows you to do that. Well, we got it open. We can take a look at the case back, which is this kind of classic diving helmet and anchors case back. Really kind of 3D embossed feel to it. Really nicely done. Good solid case back. So I feel like they've really dialed in all the details on this. Also, you can see the clasp is signed there. Okay, I'll throw it on wrist here real quick. This is on my 7.5-inch wrist. And again, typically I think my sweet spot for divers is 42 millimeters. But this 40 millimeter wears great. I'm starting to like the smaller size more and more. It's just really comfortable. It doesn't get in the way of things as much as a larger watch would. And this one being only 13 millimeters thick, it is fairly easy to wear it even if you are wearing long sleeves. It can slide in and out of your coat cuff without any problems. So talk a little bit about strap options as I show a couple of them up here. I think that this is one that you can really wear with a lot of different straps. Obviously the included Tropic rubber strap is going to go great with this. It's just a really nice fit, and I like that kind of black and blue contrast. But this is one that I think actually looks really good on a lot of leather straps as well. So I had fun playing around with some of the different leather straps in my collection. I don't always like to put dive watches onto a leather strap. But this one I think is one that just, it really fits the style of it. And I love the look of that kind of brown leather with this blue dial and blue bezel. I think it's just a really beautiful match there. So I think this is one with, you know, with the 20 millimeter lug width, there's going to be a lot of different strap options that you can have for this. And if you're one who enjoys trying out different straps, I think this is one you'll especially have a good time with. All right, let's move on and talk a little bit about the Lume. Lume on the Richard LeGrand is good. It's a decent Lume. It's a good, strong blue glow with that BGW9. The problem that it kind of runs into is because this is more of a dressy style, the markers are very thin. These are not like typical dive markers that are very thick and full that allow you to put a lot of lume covering a large area, and so that kind of tends to hurt it, especially as the night draws on, but it is still fairly bright and you can very easily read it in the dark. Let's go ahead and put it into a lume test with some other divers in my collection and see how it fares. So you can see initially everything gets a pretty nice bright glow. In this test I'm putting up against the Seiko Samurai and the Zelos, which both have really good lume, but definitely above average. But then also the Spinnaker and the Yema are kind of a little bit on the lower side, the kind of below average. You can see the Richard LeGrand comes in right in between them. It's definitely outshining the Spinnaker and the Yema, but can't quite keep up with the Seiko or with the Zelos. Okay, so let's wrap it up. What are the pros and cons of the Oceanfarer from Richard LeGrand? Well, we've gone over the pros pretty heavily so far, I think. The watch is absolutely beautiful on the wrist. I think the flat link bracelet is something that's very unique and comfortable and really kind of a standout feature that helps to distinguish this watch from others that you might see. I also really like that 12, 3, 6, and 9 dial layout. It's not terribly common to see on dive watches. And again, I feel like it adds a little bit of dressiness or class to the watch that you don't really get in just, dive watches that feature just those, big lume plots all over the place. And on the blue version, the blue dial color is really stunning. It's just a deep blue that, you get a lot of great color changes depending on the lighting, which is, really what you want to see out of a blue dial watch. And I think that they pulled off, and I'm pretty sure that's their most popular colorway, and it's easy to see why. Fit and finishing, I didn't have any problems at all with the watch as far as quality goes. I didn't notice any sharp edges or anything that was subpar. The watch is functioning completely flawlessly. Great bezel action, nothing to complain about there. But it's not the absolute perfect watch, and there were a couple of things that I could see as, maybe some areas that they could improve on. Now, I want to qualify this by saying that none of these things are technically flaws or problems with the watch. But they are things that this watch could improve in that other watches in this price range might be better at. For example, the Lume. The Lume on this watch is good. It's not great. It's above average. It's above average for a dive watch at this price range. It's almost as good as Seiko Lume. So it's the kind of Lume that probably does everything that you need. But I think the expectations that we have for, micro brand dive watches lately when it comes to Lume has sort of been inflated where, we expect everything to be like a flashlight on the wrist because there's so many micro brands that are doing great Lume. And that's again where I think some of these trade-offs are going to come. As you might find a different micro brand at this same price range that is going to have better Lume than this watch, but there might be other trade-offs. It might cost more. The case finishing might not be as high quality. The design might not be quite as refined. And maybe that speaks to one of the other issues is just in this sort of like $400 price range for micro brand dive watches, there are a lot of options out there. And so you kind of have to choose carefully on the one that you want. So this watch is not a no-brainer. Go out and buy it right now. I mean, unless you can get it at the Black Friday sale, then it might be because it's a pretty fantastic deal at that price. And even on the retail price, I think it's still a very good price. And the other thing I like about them is they tend to be fairly readily available, whereas a lot of other competing micro brands don't keep a lot of stock. And I think Richard LeGrand has been sort of above the curve on that, where they haven't been pushing out so many new versions that they're able to keep the ones that they have in stock. So that's a plus too. The only thing that really keeps me personally from wearing this watch more is that it doesn't have a date. And that's something that's really personal to me. I know that they have offered date versions in the past, and they probably will offer a date version again in the future. I wouldn't be surprised because I have seen them do special editions of these watches from time to time. But if you're like me, where you have to have a date on a watch for it to really make it into your daily rotation, currently they're not offering a date version, so that might be a negative for some people as well. All that said, I still find this watch to be one of the best, if not the best, values in micro brand dive watches right now, particularly if you can score one at the sale price, and they're available right now too. So if you've been in the market for something like this, you can grab one now at a great price, and I think it's something that pretty much everybody would be really happy with. I think you really could make the case that this could be the only watch you would ever need to kind of meet every purpose that you would have in wearing a watch. But let me know what you guys think. If you guys have had any personal experience with this watch, I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. Would love to be able to let you know when I make new videos and have you come back and see those as well. That said, thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.